Welcome back to Revision Access, and today we are looking at the market. So we're looking at theme 1, marketing and people. It's going to be like you guys are going to have the know-how to do quite a lot of these topics and to look at some of these topics, so hopefully you already have a key idea of what business is and you're going to be able to revise from this video, and this is mostly what I'm going to be doing at the same time as you. So the key main areas we're going to be looking at in the market today is mass and niche markets, market size and share, branding, e-commerce and dynamic markets, changes to a market and how businesses adapt to it, and uncertainty and risk to a business. Now, just looking at this in general, these are some of the most straightforward topics in business A level, as you might have done it for GCSE. It's quite an easy A level for me personally. I find it quite easy to understand a lot of these topics, so we'll be going through some of these, and I think this will be very straightforward. Now, active recall. So at this point in the video, what can you guys remember? What can you guys look at? So I'm going to give you about, if you pause the video now, then make sure to get a piece of paper, make sure to write down as much as you can remember about the market and those key topics I showed you before. I'll just give it a little bit of a second. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video there and you looked at some of these key ideas. Now let's carry on. So I did this myself, and this is what I can remember. I fact checked this after I've done this, so these are all very accurate, or as accurate as you can be, and you will definitely get the marks, these 2 mark style questions that you'll be given. So the first thing we've got to remember is mass market. A mass market is a huge market that markets products to everyone in the same way. Now, it's very straightforward. The benefits of this are massive. So for an example for it, obviously, we look at supermarkets, we look at all these major aspects of it. So a benefit of this is you reach a large customer and consumer base for a mass market. Now, when you reach a large customer base, you're obviously going to be making a lot more profit, and that is the core concept of what a business needs. So that is why it's a massive benefit. And you can market all of your products to everyone in the same way, as they are usually necessity products that people need. So when we look at this in finer detail, it's clear to me that it's very easy for market research. You don't need to do barely any of it, and it's very easy to sell your products when they're necessity products and people need them. So that is what a mass market is. For a disadvantage, obviously there's no specific goal. You're going to be in a very saturated and competitive market, going up against lots of other competitors in the same market. You think about supermarkets again, you've got Tesco's at the top, you've got Asda, you've got Aldi, you've got Sainsbury's, you've got all of these amazing businesses. But yeah, it's going to be clear to see that a mass market can have benefits and disadvantages, so hopefully you got that. Niche markets is market segments that target a specific customer group for a unique product, such as skiing. Now in skiing, obviously it only happens at certain times in the year and other stuff. So the main bit you got to remember about mass and niche market is the 2 definitions of them, an example of them. So I'll say supermarkets and skiing. A benefit of a niche market was that a lot more time and a lot more skills we put into it, because they are based on certain skill sets. So all these skill sets will go into a niche market. Whereas in perhaps a different one, for a disadvantage, it's not going to happen as much during the year as perhaps you may have liked. So it's not going to be happening throughout the whole year. It's not going to be happening when you want it. It's not going to be a really built up brand, built up businesses. They're going to be more local, based on your area. So there's a lot of positives and negatives of this. Now, following on from that, we've got market share. Hopefully you got this one. This is business sales divided by total sales in a market times 100. Now, you've got to know this. Basically, you've got to know this on the top of your head. It's really straightforward. If you think about market share, how it's calculated, it's all about sales. Market size is obviously calculated by volume and value. So when you're looking at market share, business sales divided by total sales in the market times 100. It's very, very straightforward. It's always a percentage of it, and it's very, very easy to do. Now obviously we've got e-commerce, that again, I don't want to be put a fine point on this, but you should know what this is. It's online shopping, so it's again very straightforward. You've got branding, that everyone should know, the layout and differentiation of a business from competitors, like customers recognize. You've got to look at the differentiation. You've got to make sure you hit all these fine points. Now e-commerce, if you look at the benefits of it, 24 hours, all of this stuff, you can easily drag that in. Now we're just looking at the definitions here, but it's really easy to find benefits for this off the top of your head. Obviously there's specific ones you can remember, but there's so much to remember in business. You've got to be able to look at a definition, define what it is, and then think about benefits and disadvantages that maybe the marker won't even see, and other stuff like that. It's really good to know if you yourself, because then when you're doing your chain of analysis, it will flow really, really well. But for example, 24/7 for an e-commerce branding, you gain customer loyalty and stuff like that. Now moving on, now active recall continued. We got innovation, economic growth, and social changes, all of which affect the nature and size of a market, and this can be really good or really bad for a business. Now innovation from one business, so if you look at a camera industry, when digital cameras came into play, obviously that industry was affected massively by that, and there were some huge businesses who didn't want to adapt, who didn't want to change, because they were the leading business in that market, and they failed obviously because they did not innovate on with it. And all of these ones here will obviously really badly impact some of these stages of it, but businesses have to adapt through change, and as I put there, they're being flexible, market research, innovation and investment, and in continuous improvement, all of which are four major key areas you guys should know how a business obviously links to adapting and changing. So when we're looking at this, and when you're going to get asked about the nature of a market and the size of a market, obviously all which are very easy to remember and very easy to determine what they are, this is what you're going to have to say as your chain of analysis and those 4 mark questions. When it's like, how is the market affected by this, and to give a specific example, you're going to have to link to all 4 of how a business can adapt to the change, what the problems are going to be for that, and then link back to the source question. But it's really important to do that as well. Now I put risk and uncertainty here. Maybe it's not a major factor as well, but I would definitely want to know this for the test. I've done a few business tests now, and for risk, it's obviously business owners who make an action or a decision with an outcome that is unknown, and that is obviously really major. It's quite obvious, but it's really important to know the difference between risk and uncertainty. Uncertainty is the external factors that affect the market, which businesses cannot control. So like stuff like legalization, stuff like just anything that really affects it, like trends and social changes, and the stuff that maybe mentioned up there that all affect the nature and size of a market, can be linked with uncertainty. I think it's really important to know the difference. You could get a 2 mark question asking you for the difference, so that's why I would personally put that there. So obviously it's really important to know all of these ones here. I personally, if you want to take a pause there and write this down to add to your notes, I would. I personally think that these are all very good. I definitely mass market and niche market are the most important. The business share one is obviously as important as well, and the other ones are very straightforward. So 4 questions then. We're going to look at Seneca. Now I like using Seneca. It's really easy to use, it's really nice to use. I really personally like it. So we're going to be looking at this. So 2 types of market segments. Now obviously when I answer these questions, guys, you guys can obviously answer these at the same time, but the answer will be mass. So we are looking at Seneca, and it's LXRA level because they do not do OCR on here, but it's very similar to what we're doing. The niche market will be smaller than the BTC market. This is because it targets a very specific group of customers. That's a business to company market that we have not looked at, so I'm going to skip over that question. Let's look at risk and uncertainty, seeing as we were looking at that one before. Now, this one is quite easy. It's not very hard. Click start learning. Okay. Anything you don't know, obviously you can define. What are the risks of enterprises? Okay, this is kind of hard. These are all very specific, but if we look here, there's financial loss, like security, some of the other stuff here. But yeah, so hopefully this helped you out, guys. I personally think this is quite obvious. I'll get a set of questions ready for you next time on the next video, where I'll ask questions about this, and then you guys will be able to answer them, and I'll give you my answers. So yeah, leave any comments below, and I will try and help as much as possible. So thank you for watching, and yeah, leave anything down in the comments below.